3 years. It has really transformed my life. It changed it completely. I don't do anything else. I'm not fucking painting doors. I'm just
riding the dicks of these cunts.
You guys were willing enough to support me sucking dicks of these cunts.
I'm riding dicks.
Oh, she's gonna do it.
So long.
Riding the dicks of these cunts. So long.
He's riding the dicks of these cunts.
So long.
Dicks of these cunts.
Just riding dicks.
Riding dicks.
You like it, don't you?
We're riding dicks.
Dick riding fucking
Like if I made a live stream and I titled "Riding Dicks," it works really well in the search engine. All these people in the chat, they're just riding dicks.
They jumped on it.
Without touching.
jumped on.
They were riding dicks.
We're taking you guys with us.
I'm a fat 8 inches, mate. Forget the 6 inches.
If there's anything I can do, Mookie,
Riding.
It's this last fight.
We're riding dicks here.
that's it. I'm riding dicks here.
He's riding dicks here.
Riding dicks.
I'm actually glad I was born with just one eye. Here. Haters.
You dick riding fucking
We're riding dicks.
Quattro D.
We're at a gay bar having dinner.
He's riding the dicks of these cunts.
They're riding dicks.
This might be like a prisoner exchange.
It's like hiring a hitman.
What do we have to do for some clips around here?
Watch Nicholas come back. I'm riding dicks here. I'm riding dicks here. I'm riding dicks here.
Thank you.
What do we got to do for some watch talk around here, guys? This is the AC3 live stream. I am the narrative. We're going to be covering watch talk. Thank God it's Friday, July 5th, the day after Independence Day for everybody in the U.S. I'm sure many are on a long weekend, so we are going to do some watch talk as we did yesterday, as we've done a few days before, just really going through in-depth whatever watch talk you guys want to go through. I do have some topics. Hopefully I have some guests joining me and we can do some ASMR if I can watch talk. Now, let me check who's in the chat. Our first in the chat is our good friend Patrick B, who says, great talk yesterday, 10. Thank you. Have a great show today, man. Cheers. Yeah, I know, Patrick. I think you had mentioned you were with family, on the 4th. And, I knew a lot of folks were just kind of listening to the show kind of podcast style. They might have an earbud in their ear when they're with their family or whatever. So yeah, we wanted to make sure that we did some watch content. You guys got, you guys get your fix when it comes to watch talk. And, we're just going to keep, keeping the show pretty fluid. Topics, you guys may not want to talk about Patek Philippe. Andreas is saying, Tan, you talk too much about Patek Philippe. We can really talk about any brands you guys want to talk about. I did get some really nice messages last night from Hop on Smash and a bunch of other folks that really enjoyed kind of the Panerai segment of it. A couple folks are looking at Panerais already and or were just kind of asking my opinion on certain Panerais. So that's pretty cool to see. Definitely a fan of Panerai, but from my perspective, Pam's kind of a one and done with the brand. Like, pick the one you really kind of that sweet spot piece that you really want, and then kind of move on. I'm not a huge fan of collecting all of the lineup. I'm a Luminor guy. I don't necessarily like the Radiomir. Never really like the submersible. So, I'm going to kind of stick to manual wind Luminors as my kind of pick in the Panerai lineup. We got our good friend Collector Invest. Nice to see you, Nathan. Who says, I want to restore an antique Van Baron watch. Do you know a place that can repair antique watches? Well, speaking of antique, we have a guest joining us here. Jonathan Quayle Higgins III. How are you this evening, my friend?
What an intro.
Hey, Nathan had it up. I just used it. Just saying hello to everybody in the chat here, Mr. Higgins, and then we can get into some watch talk. We've got Amazing Air Show, a big fan of Ross Rachel Brady, who says, hello, sir. We got Mike the Mistake in the chat, who says, Tannerai. Yep, could be my next micro brand that I come out with. We got Marty in the chat. Overheard sales lady at Rolex in Brisbane, Australia, say to a customer, 6-year wait for a Submariner. Is this true? Now look, Marty, I'm hearing from friends in the United States that the Submariner is pretty easy to get right now. Just got to wait a little bit. And when I mean a little bit, maybe a month maximum. I think a lot of folks are getting Submariners pretty quickly. Now, Australia is a small market, just like where I live.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I live in Canada. There's a lot less ADs, a lot less watches coming, and realistically, a lot less big fish. And sometimes there's a lot of big fish, like in Toronto, for example, right? That it can make it difficult to get a Submariner in the similar timeline of the United States. So honestly, Marty, I don't think it's 6 years. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I definitely don't think it's easy. Higgins, what about you in Germany? Like, do you think it's real? I know you're not in the market for one, but do you think it's hard right now in Germany to get a subby?
I think it became easier, but I think it's realistic to think that within a year you would get a steel Submariner. That would be my guess.
I think that's fair enough, right? Like, I think that you're gonna have like you said, variance from countries. It's difficult, in certain countries, not difficult in others. But yeah, I would generally.
People also have to keep in mind waitlists are waitlist, and from my experience, when I was working in retail, at least 50% of the people that you have on the list will drop out when you give them the call and tell them, I have a watch for you. Mm-hmm. So you should also keep that in mind with the 6-year wait period in Australia. Probably.
But honestly, the way I see it, Jonathan, is I think that of all the watches that Marty may have a fair shot at, I mean, I think the basic sub date, even, because I think a lot of the no date subs are getting pretty hyped right now. A lot of folks like the no date sub date. I think is probably putting your name in the hat for that is probably more realistic right now. Of all of them, I would say that are out there that are kind of the desired sports models. So I would say that, Marty, if you're looking for the sub date, not the Cermet or other ones, I think that you'd be just fine. Patrick B says, Patek Philippe is great to hear about, out of my league, but love him. Hey, man, it was out of my league for a long time as well. I never thought I'd be able to buy a perpetual calendar, Patek Philippe, and, hey, life kind of works in a mysterious way. So never say never, always dream, always, we all like watches here. Me and Higgins, we like to dream a bit. We like to look at some really, really we talk about astronomically priced pieces that I don't know if either one of us is going to get, but hey, here's to dreaming, my friend. Got a member super chat here from P Cars. Nice to see you, P Cars. Member for 15 months. Hey guys, happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, sir. Nice to see you as always.
Yeah, good to see you in the chat.
Marty says he waited 2 years in 2018 for the no date 124060. So yeah, you know what? Maybe it's gonna be less, but I think 6 years is just a bit much, Marty. And you know what? Maybe it's worth calling around to other ADs from in other cities, I guess, in Australia. Yeah, Mike the Mistake, we will do that. I will get you the 5196 and you can try it on. All right, Higgins, we've gotten through the chat. Where do we want to start? Lots of topics today. You start. Where would you like to go here?
I'm in a foul mood because Germany is out of the tournament. So that is not the reason why I'm here, but maybe I sound a little bit grumpy tonight.
Ooh, grumpy Higgins.
Warned. I'm in a foul mood.
Well, grumpy, you were grumpy yesterday. You were so guys, everybody in the chat, people listening.
Yeah.
Higgins was not happy with the way I was describing high horology. So Higgins, you have the floor. You can say what you like, and I won't say anything. I won't interrupt you.
I mean, where do I start? As far as I remember, you started shitting on Nautiluses and Royal Oaks because the Day-Date is the better all-round watch, better dress watch and better sports watch, which is totally ridiculous. Then you started with shitting on the code 1159, and probably we have the chance to dissect, and maybe you tell me what Patek is doing to get away from the classic grandpa Calatrava look, and maybe we compare that with the code 1159. then it got. And when you thought that it couldn't get worse, then you started talking about high horology, and of course black polishing came up, and of course high horology is Geneva stripes and anglage. I'm grateful that you mentioned internal angles, so that is not at fault. But I wanted to demonstrate a little bit that high horology is way more than only decoration. Decoration is a big part of it, but decoration is only one aspect in high horology. And the reason why I hopped on here was to put a little bit a highlight on
All right.
other aspects of
Before we
high
get into it,
horology.
I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm not going to. I'll
No,
let you
it's
say your
okay.
point. We do have questions for you in the chat that are flying in. So,
Oh, okay.
Apes is first asking JQH, when are you selling your Richard Lange?
Why would I do that?
I mean, you just got it, right? You literally you
Yeah,
haven't even
that's
sent it. Yeah, you just got it. You haven't
it's
sent it in for service or
it's
anything. You
not
just
going
enjoying
anywhere.
it.
Ah, yeah, and by the way, now that we're talking,
Mm.
one thing that really annoys me is when you say, "Oh, high horology is 90% optics."
Of course.
Can you elaborate that?
Of course, yeah. I
a little
believe
bit?
that, like, and I was using the example yesterday of the Philippe Dufour Simplicity, and I
Mm.
asked Saad straight up. I said, "Do you like just dial up? Do you like the way this watch looks?" And Saad said, "No, I don't. Right? I don't like this. I don't like that." And I said, "Well, look, like, you don't need to understand or have to understand everything about high horology, whether it's finishing, cases." And everything else, accuracy, technical acumen, all that jazz, right? Like, if you don't like the way it looks, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you don't understand, right? Because I don't believe that watchmakers should just get away with the fact, like, oh, we just did this part of the watch excellent, which is the movement. But then you and I had this critique of Bernard Lederer, and when we first kind of saw, his watch, we loved, obviously, the case backside, but when we looked at the dial side, we were a little, I think it fell a little short from a design perspective, and I didn't necessarily like it. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate what he does, but it's just not something I would buy. That was really what I was going on.
Yeah, but I think that is exactly the point, and I think you're approaching the issue from the incorrect angle, because what you're saying is somebody who buys a Philippe Dufour is 90%, at least 90% madly in love with the design of the case and the front. And my take is that you don't have to be madly in love with the design of a high horology watch. It's enough when it's not ugly enough to turn you away. So Saad made a good example yesterday. He said, it's boring, doesn't do anything to me, and I'm not going to convince him otherwise. So his no scale is pretty high. I would say the typical Philippe Dufour buyer is not madly in love with the design, but he doesn't hate it, and he loves the movement so much
I think it
that he pulls the
depends.
trigger.
I think it depends, right? Like, when we heard George Varkes a few days ago talk about, how early he got into independence, he bought watches that he loved. He didn't buy them, with the idea of maybe it's going to make him money. And I think that there are a lot of collectors like or do exactly what you say. I don't disagree with you, that will buy it because, it's kind of okay, but hey, either it's going to make me money, or I can live with the case with it from the the case back side. But for me, I mean, we talk. Well, how much is the Simplicity right now if you were to order one?
If you order one, 750,000 Swiss francs
Okay,
plus tax.
so 750,000, Swiss francs
Mhm.
for Philippe Dufour. So I would. I mean, that's not chump change to anybody. And there's something called opportunity cost, where it's like, well, am I going to spend my 750,000 here, or am I going to spend it on something else? And I think that there is that level of people do actually like the way that watch looks. There are some people probably out there that are either speculating or can, like you say, just get over it. But I think there's a lot of people out there that actually do love it, and I'm one of them. I actually do like the design of it. I find it really cool. Like, he credits Medalum. He puts handmade, but writes it in French, where he writes May, and everything else. And I think it's and Guilloche on the dock. I think it's a really nice put watch. We do have a massive super chat here from our good friend, both of yours and mine, Muhammad Ali, 100 British pounds. Thank you so much, Muhammad. Nice to see you. Higgy and Tan talking watches. This is truly a golden age of our hobby. Muhammad Higgy wanted to come on here and roast me.
I
He's
wanted
grumpy.
to rip you in pieces for the nonsense that you're spreading.
One thing you said
You're
was
still making a lot of words out of the fact that your love barometer is not 90% in love for simplicity. You can't tell me that.
Oh, I do actually like it that much. I do find the watch really beautiful.
So on a scale from 0 to 100, it is 90. That is how much you like that
for me,
the
yeah.
design.
No, I really
Maybe you
do.
can pull up a simplicity here so
Sure.
that the punters know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, again, just because you don't like it does not mean I don't like it. Let me pull up the same article.
No. I'm not saying that I don't like it, but I'm not super excited. My heart doesn't burn when I see the front design. My heart jumps when I see the movement.
All right, here we go. Philippe Dufour, simplicity on the screen. It is, and you know what, maybe I'll zoom in a bit just so we can see a bit of the guilloche and the writing on the dial. Medallium, Swiss, guilloche, and main, which means hand or handmade. Come on, Higgins. You can't tell me this doesn't like get your dick fat, man. Come on.
It's nice, but an LUC doesn't look uglier or better than that, for example.
No, of course not. I love the LUC. I mean, I got nothing wrong with that watch.
Yeah, but it is a nice looking dress watch, and that is my point. It is not 90%. It is not a 9 out of 10.
I think it's a 9 out of 10 personally for me. But again, that is, but as well, right? Think about it. Would you have $750,000 francs. Are you buying this? Is that the watch you're buying, right? Are you buying the simplicity or are you buying something else? And if you are buying something else, why are you buying something else?
When we are talking about retail prices, I would not buy a simplicity because when we're talking about retail, Recepi Chronomètre Contemporain is 120 and offers me as much pleasure as the Philippe Dufour, though Swiss will roast me for that because he says Philippe Dufour is a legend and the way better watchmaker, and I won't argue with Swiss on that, but it's not 6 times better.
Right, but is it purely because you like Recepi's design better, or is it a combination of Recepi's design, both in everything as a complete package, as well as his price? Because Recepi is significantly cheaper than $750,000 Swiss francs. Like Recepi is what, like 175, maybe, like 125.
So personally, I like the dial design more with Recepi, and I like the more modern approach of the construction of the movement and the more extreme way that he approaches the decoration. So it's a combination of several things.
Let's get to the big show here. Let's get to the big show. I'm gonna unzoom out of here from these. I mean, you do get to see a bit of the guilloche. You and I are both fans of guilloche.
It's beautiful. I like it. But I think, honestly, I think a lot of Breguet watches have nicer guilloches than that.
Can I ask you a question about guilloche?
Yes.
So you've tried it. You've tried doing it by hand yourself. How difficult? Like, what patterns were you trying to do, and how difficult were they? More difficult, some of them, or less difficult?
I started with beginner class, so I had the hobnail bezel, the hobnail pattern, and that was difficult enough. So I tried to explain you
hobnail as in like the Clou de Paris, like the
Clou de Paris. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So
cool.
it is 90-degree angles, straight lines. So
and that
no
was
waves, nothing.
Right, and that was difficult, right? So
that is super difficult. I mean, you've seen at the Patek Philippe handcraft. The artisan that was working with her eyes on the microscope. And when you have your eyes on the microscope, and if you have to coordinate only one hand with what you see through the microscope, it's really difficult. It's not easy. Now, imagine doing that with 2 hands, because when you're doing the guillochage, with one hand, you lift up the tool or put it down and push it into the metal. That is usually done with the right hand. So you choose the starting and the end point, and the pressure that is on the tool. Now with the left hand, you operate a roller, which is a totally different motion, and that moves the tool over the dial. In my case, in a straight line. Now, you have to coordinate what you see through the microscope with two totally different actions with your hands. And that is super difficult on a microscopic level.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like you mentioned that you had fiked up at least one, of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, look, if Higgins is struggling with it, I'm sure it's got some level of difficulty.
Oh, no. I'm not good with those, and I'm not patient enough. I want to progress. I don't have the time to adjust the tool 10 times until I precisely hit the beginning point. At some point, I'm just thinking, okay, fuck, it looks good, so I'm gonna try it. I'm not testing and checking 10 times to get it 100% straight. At one point, I just want to do the shot, if that makes sense.
Walk us through high horology here, Higgins. We got the case back now of the Philippe Dufour Simplicity,
Yeah.
arguably the real art of this watch. Walk us through what really appeals to you here.
Well, here with Philippe Dufour, you have to know that that a lot is done by hand. So you've been correctly yesterday pointing out the anglage, which is the angle here, which is all done by hand by the master himself. He doesn't use Tourés rotating tools. This is not a machine finish, and of course the inward angle, and in particular the two outward angles, I found those really fascinating. That is a kind of trademark of him. Reminds me a little bit of Archie, the two horns.
The two horns.
but those are extreme angles, and you can imagine when you're trying to file on that or polish on that, one wrong motion and you screw this entire bridge up, and you start all over again. So that is the highest level of high horology, of course, in decoration. But there is some criticism that I have. But before I come to the criticism, there are other aspects that are nice. For example, that polished cap. As far as I know, Philippe Dufour is black polishing that, and as far as I know, Philippe Dufour is also black polishing, black polishing the screw heads of those screws.
I mean, the amount of time he has to do this by hand, I would hope so, right? I would hope he would be doing full black polish.
So another thing of high horology, and Patek is doing that as well. If you look at the screw slots, for example, there is an anglage. No, screw slots on the screws. There is an anglage as well. So the screw slots themselves are beveled. They have an anglage inside and outside. So it's round, and it's also a straight beveling. So this is all very high horology. Now we come to the criticism. For example, you see that that toothed wheel that is below that big red bearing. For example, Rexepi and other high horology companies, they also bevel the spokes and the inner rim of those. I'm pretty sure Philippe Dufour is polishing the teeth. That is also a sign of high horology. It looks a little bit like you're playing a violin. So the watchmaker is polishing those teeth by hand with a tool that looks a little bit like the bow of a violin. What I'm missing here is the beveling on this particular wheel. For example, Rexepi does that on his wheels, and this is where the high number of inward angles comes from. Now, another criticism, and why I wouldn't buy a Simplicity, but Rexepi is Rexepi has even wider, deeper anglage, and it's more rounded. It's more dramatic, in my opinion, and it just looks cooler, in my opinion, than that big 3/4 plate. There is much more going on Rexepi's chronomètre contemporain. With all respects to Mr. Philippe Dufour, but I'm getting more kicks out of this movement design.
So this is the number 2, right? This is the one you like the most.
That is the number 2. That is Chronomet Contemporain number 2. You see that from the 2 mainspring barrels that are symmetrical. The old one had 1 mainspring barrel in the middle, and the new one has 2 mainspring barrels. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely, like, again, very, very wide anglage.
Super deep, super
Yeah, like
dramatic. Yeah.
the two, like I said that yesterday. I said those two I think are very similar in this respect. I think this design, just of this movement, is a lot cooler looking to me. But you're right, like a lot of deep anglage here. Um, I I don't like, you can't, in this rendering, you really can't see all of the work you were talking about on the wheels. But again,
But
same
you get
thing.
an idea that those
Mm.
wheels are more decorated, and they have a kind of anglage and kind of angle even on the spokes and inside.
Collector Invest says Archie needs to buy this watch. Yeah, you know what, Archie? What would Archie say if we told him about this watch? There,
I think he's talking about the 2 horns.
the two.
I think
Yes,
he's
the
talking
fluted
about
one.
the
Okay, so let's
simplicity.
talk about it. What would Archie say if you told him what the price of the Simplicity was?
Well,
It's expensive.
yeah, it's expensive, and probably he will tell us that it will depreciate like a rock.
What do you think of this comment from Apes?
I have to cough 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm still having this bloody COVID, and I'm still coughing deep from my lungs.
I heard, man, there's a lot of people that are just not like it's lingering. I think it was lingering for Lux. It's lingering for a few people, but
Yeah, I think you can also hear it from my voice. I think my voice is still not where it is now. People will say my voice is crap anyhow. So
Apes is telling you to get rid of the Contemporain number 2 and get the AK-06 from Acrivia. You tried this on, right? You tried this on, didn't you?
I tried this on, yes, and it's a weird thing. It is a very wild design. He's now discontinuing this Acrivia line, and he's focusing on the brand Recepi. So the watchmaking is top notch. There is no doubt about that. Just look at the concave eye on the hands. Just look at the anglage of those little how do you call them, those levers that are moving the power reserve. The watchmaking is top notch there. There is no doubt about that. Personally, I don't like the case design. In my opinion, it's a little bit too wild. I understand what he's trying to do. Be different, be bold, be brave. I totally get it. But then this is my taste. Now, if you give me that for 100,000, I know that they are trading around 500,000. I will say this doesn't trigger my 50% ugly rate or ranking. So I would be fine with it. But having the alternative between a Chronomet Contemporain and that, I would go for the Chronomet Contemporain.
So have you put your name in with? So for those that don't know, Higgins visited Recepi's manufacturer last year through a good friend of ours, Russell 996, who got him into the manufacturer. So have you put your name on anything? Like, have you showed interest at all?
I have shown interest, but first of all, like you say, I've been invited on behalf of Russ. Russ made the contact, so I will not step out and ruin Russ's chances. Secondly, those watches are above 100,000 Swiss francs, and let's be honest, I'm not a collector of over 100,000 dollars or euros watches all the time. I made that exception once with my Pour le Mérite, but it can't get a habit. First of all, I'm not earning enough money to buy always in that price bracket, and secondly, this is not who I am. I can tell you when I told Mrs. Higgins that I'm going for that 150,000 euros Pour le Mérite, she told me, this is not us. This is not watches that we buy. Those are other people. And I had a hard time to convince her that I really want that watch. And part of the deal was that I was financing it with sales of other watches.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a natural limit for everybody, right?
Yes.
And oftentimes it even reaches kind of that 40K mark, because when you kind of get past 30 to $40,000, when you get past that mark,
Mm.
there's fewer buyers. Um, Dealers don't want to necessarily carry watches that are that high dollar mark sometimes, just because I mean they're holding on to stock when they can buy 10 Submariners and flip them within 24 hours, kind of a thing, right? Like the playing field becomes a lot smaller. The pool becomes a lot smaller. You often hear Archie complaining about his ability to sell his Patek dress watches. Well, look, like number one, his pool of people he's trying to sell to is actually wrong. He's posting it on Gumtree, which is the U.S. equivalent of Craigslist. And I mean, I'm pretty sure you're not going to find someone looking to buy a world time on some of those platforms. But um, yeah, when the pool is smaller there, Higgins, it's a lot harder. So definitely a lot harder. Now, you did send me this article earlier to cover today in our show.
Mm.
Um, my immediate thought of this was, why is Higgins sending me the Roman Gautier, hillbilly tourbillon? Like, well, why? So
Billy
why, why
Tourbillon.
why why don't you explain to the crowd why I call it the hillbilly tourbillon of Roman Gautier?
Well, because you know shit, because the exposed part is not even the balance wheel. That is
It's the escapement.
probably
It's the escapement. Yeah, I know that in the seconds wheel. I know that.
yeah. So
But it's
the
their
escapement.
version of the hillbilly tourbillon. That's why I'm saying, like, it's got to be a
Yeah,
little bit better than
but
Zenith.
usually hillbilly tourbillons, you can see the escapement wheel very prominent in the dial. Here you see the second wheel very prominently on the dial. So I would dispute that this is a hillbilly tourbillon. I was just bringing that up because it is a kind of high horology. It is, I think, the last series of the Roman Gautier Continuum,
Yeah.
and it is quite controversial. Many people don't like that open worked dial. The previous versions of this particular watch had a closed dial. I was just giving you that example of another high horology merit or detail, and my focus was on those circular spoked wheels. That you can also see through the dial, but that is a signature thing of Romain Gautier. So we are again talking about anglage on those spokes, but you can see those circular spokes. So it doesn't help with precision, but it's just ultra cool that people are doing that and decorating those wheels. And there are so many things to discover in high horology. And Romain Gautier is doing things away from the norm. However, his decoration, his inward angles are spectacular.
What is your thought of the combination of titanium and I'm assuming this is rubber, right?
Mm.
What are your thoughts? It's going to be a super light watch. I mean, to me, I agree with you pretty much in everything you said, but I'd want a bit of substance, I think, on the wrist when if I'm wearing something like this, which is quite sporty, but definitely has, like you said, the high horology add to it, right?
That is always the discussion, and there are two camps, and I'm trying to navigate between those two camps because I personally have both. I love my platinum watches, you know that, and I love it. I love them because they are heavy, but I also have titanium watches, and I love them for being light. So it is not this or that. You can enjoy both for what they are.
Just want to say hello to CB in the chat who says it's almost as ugly as my Nautilus. Now, CB, the Nautilus in the thumbnail was my old Nautilus. I was trekking through the snow and I thought it'd be a nice thumbnail. And Mobster gives us the Higgins. I guess this is the official, Higgins motto, the Grubel Force, the way Saad, does it, which is actually
Yeah,
quite
Saad
good.
does it much better than me, so
Yes.
I'm not gonna sing tonight.
So look, CB doesn't like the design, right? It says it's ugly. Doesn't meet your
Yep.
50% rule, my 90% rule.
Mhm.
Um,
So
well,
then the watch is out. So if it crosses his 50% line, his 50% disc-like line, the watch is out. I can't talk him into this watch. But I'm pretty sure many people are willing to tolerate the design and appreciate the watch for what it is. Have a look at the thin spokes at the balance wheels. You don't see those thin spokes on any other balance wheels, just like Romain Gautier does it.
Definitely pretty cool. This kind of a movement gives me, you probably know why, like more of a Tropic Antarctic vibe on the bridges, but
Mhm.
it's just
Well,
it's
I
just
would say it's more Grönefeld than
yeah, or
Chopik
Gronefeld. Yeah, or
when
Gronefeld, yeah.
we are
Yeah, it was those
honest.
are all kind of similar. I think it's a similar design aesthetic a lot of those independents are doing. Really cool. I like it. Traditional people who like traditional watchmaking may not dig it as much, but nothing wrong with that. And we got
So, but
Goldfinger in the chat as well, by the way. Just want to say hi to Goldfinger for saying hello to both of
hey,
us there.
Goldfinger, good to see you. And I wanted to say hello to Mohammed and thank him for the generous super chat. I really appreciate that. And I think you can agree that meeting Mohammed was one of the highlights of the London
Oh,
time that
for
we had.
sure, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Hopefully, I get to see Goldfinger. I don't know, Goldfinger, if you're coming to New York. Higgins had told me you were there last time, last year. I didn't get a chance to see you in New York, but when I was talking to him on the phone, and he's like, "Hey, Goldfinger's there. You should go say hello." But I didn't know you were there. CB, so CB showed a photo of his 5712. Now, CB, I think it's
Oh,
rose
yeah.
gold.
Mm.
Yeah, if it's rose gold, CB, that was my choice, and his 5726 annual calendar in steel. I said if they're both steel, I'm going to go with the annual calendar. If the 5712 is rose gold, I'm going with the 5712. What do you think, Higgy?
So CB has both of them. Is that correct?
That's right. He was showing a photo of like both of
Hmm.
the watches side by
I
side.
have done a blatant question, and I hope that CB is not angry with me. In my opinion, the most beautiful Nautilus is the perpetual calendar in white gold. So why having those two instead of having the best
Yeah, it was gold.
Nautilus with a perpetual calendar?
Um, you know what? I would disagree. I don't particularly like the perpetual calendar in the Nautilus. It's too much, man. Like it's hard to read on the 5327, let alone on the Nautilus. Like it's just I don't know. It doesn't mix well for me.
No, Patek
Sport
Philippe
watch.
perpetual calendars are hard to read, and usually
No, they
you're
are.
roasting my Lange
No, I would say that.
because.
Yeah, I would say the 5327 is definitely hard to read.
Mhm,
Not
okay.
mine. Mine's. I mean, that was the big thing was what I had you on from the comparison between the. I mean, I asked you that last year when we met up. I said, while I know you're because so for the crowd listening in, Jonathan was showing me all of the cool features of his watch that mine didn't have, for example, and I just point blank looked at him and I asked him, "But can you read? Can you read the watch?" And he's like, "I can read the big date. That's about
Yeah,
it."
that's it. That's it. I mean, a perpetual calendar is all about the date that is sometimes flipping at 29, at 28, at 30, and 31. So it's all about the date.
Yeah, CB saying the same thing as me. He says too much in the Nautilus.
Mm.
AJ says 5712R, beautiful reference. Yeah, 100%. By the way, AJ, his father has a 5196 in platinum, so it has the Breguet numerals.
Mm.
Beautiful watch. I was able to check it out last time I saw AJ. I was there. Me, Doc BBW, Jin, and I think a few others. But yeah, it was cool to meet him. Three handers asking, or 3HR. I think he confirmed he's not three hander. 3HR. 5740 Higgy. What do you think of the 5740?
What is 5740? Can you
So
help
I'll
me?
show you the 5740 here. It's the one you're
Because
talking
I'm
about.
really bad with
No,
the
no, no, no.
Patek
It's
Philippe
it's the one. It's
references.
the one you're talking. It's the one you're talking about.
Is
It's
that the Nautilus with the Yeah, well,
That's right.
that is my favorite. I totally love that. I think that is the best Nautilus. But I see that that many of the Patek fanboys here have different opinions, and that's totally fine.
My bad, AJ. That's AJ's piece. I thought it was. I'm getting confused with someone else then. But I did get to see the watch. Really, really cool. Definitely love it. I'll show you guys actually the 5196 in platinum. Because it is worthy.
5196. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's worthy of showing in platinum. I'll show you. Like it is one of the most stunning Calatravas here. So you got 5196. You have the Breguet numerals, manual wind, in platinum. Like
With a
just
visibly too small movement that you
yeah, but
can
that's
see on
all of them
some
have that. I would
settings.
say of all the 5196s,
Yeah.
this is. I mean, do you disagree? Do you prefer another metal like the rose gold, the yellow gold, the white
No,
gold? The white gold.
platinum is cool, but in my opinion, it here with those concentric circles, it is so obvious that this movement is too small. So I'd rather have the traditional batons. That is just my taste.
All right. You know, the chat is moving along with us here. Apes is asking Higgy your thoughts on Lange's light work. Now, I do have an article curated by Higgy
Yes.
himself. So Higgy will walk us through all this. I haven't read this, Higgy, so you're going to have to lead here. Talk to
Okay.
us about some Zeitworks.
So first of all, you're spelling it wrong. It's Zeitwerk with an E and not with an O, Apes. But I forgive you for that. So here comes my philosophy or my claim that the narrative that I put at the beginning. So on this watch, my personal taste barometer says I hate it more than 50%. So I would never buy a Zeitwerk. And the only reason why I don't like it is, for me, a digital display of time, no matter how complicated it is, I associate with cheap electronic watches, and I can't get over myself to convince myself to like it. Now, the technical aspects are top-notch. Because what you see here, to display the time, 7 is the hour, of course, so it is a big, huge disk. Then to display the minutes, you have another disk with numbers from I think from 0 to 1. Then you have another from 0 to 6. Apologies. Then you have another disk from 0 to 1 that indicates the minutes. Now, can you imagine what happens at 7 hours 59 seconds when all 3 disks have to be moved at the same time in one big jump? You need a lot of energy. It is really a technical challenge, and how they managed to manage this energy is fantastic, because the first of all, you need a big mainspring. The mainspring is too strong for the escapement. So what they did they do then with the watch? They put a remontoir in between the mainspring and the escapement. So first thing that they did very cool is the remontoir that divides or that splits the enormous gigantic. Here you can see the 3 discs, by the way. Scroll up. No. Scroll up one. Here you can see the 3 discs. They are enormous. They are gigantic, and you can imagine how much of an energy you need to simultaneously move those 3 discs. Now, I said the energy is too strong for the escapement, so they added a remontoir. We're coming to that picture later. Maybe you can show that diagram, because that shows the air brake. So what happens when the hour jumps, the minutes jump to the next full hour? It is an explosion of energy on those discs. And the problem is that after that jump, there is excess energy from that mainspring. And what Lange did is they integrated an air brake, which you can see on the upper right corner, that then slows down the energy, or that basically destroys that excess energy that is over after those discs have been moved. So a very cool, super ingenious system. And by the way, you can see the remontoir on the top level as well, with that fork that is jumping left and right. That is the remontoir. So the technical solutions in this simply looking watch is just outstanding. And now you can go to that beautifully finished bridge, which is an absolute masterpiece. We're talking about high horology, and just do things because they look cool, because they are beautiful, because nobody else does it. Have a look at that piece, how many inward angles you see, the beautiful decoration, how delicate that is, and how cool designed that is. And tell me that is not ultra cool. So my heart is really jumping when I see the movement of the Zeitwerk. But my 50% rule is from the front. I say, no, it's a no-no for me, so I wouldn't buy it.
CB has a comment for you on everything you've talked about here. Well, why don't you read it out for everybody?
Yeah, CV, the right way, the wrong way, and the complicated German way. This is a very good example, and I agree with you. We do sometimes things because they're not easy, but because they are hard. Yeah. And that is part of our success.
For me, this beats the 90% rule. Hands down, this is a winner chicken dinner. I am a fan of the Lightwork. Now, I have told Higgins that if I were to buy a Lange, the only Lange I do want to buy is the Datograph. But if I got a Zeitwerk, I wouldn't be unhappy, I would say. Now,
So, in my opinion, Zeitwerks are cool when they have a black dial. All other dials I don't really like.
Here comes another disappointment here. America 5726. I think wasn't he going to get like a triple split, or he was offered like a double split? Or
Yeah, he was after one. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
What
I
happened?
think he was after the triple split, but I think they offered him the double split. I don't think he took it. America, let us know if it was the double or the triple. But I know that he was looking at one of those. Would you ever consider like the double split, the triple split? Is that something you're into, or
I personally think that the double split looks better than the triple split. Maybe you can pull both up.
Yeah,
I will explain you why.
Yeah, here. Lange double split. All right, I'll get us a double split up on the screen on Lange's site. Here we go. This is the double split.
Yeah, I think they have the platinum with the black dial still on.
Oh, I'm just showing the video, and it just gives you.
Okay.
If you want to talk about
it. I was reading today Langepedia's intro for the datograph, and this is also a datograph on steroids. And he was comparing the shapes that you see here on that movement with Jessica Rabbit on steroids, and I really like that term. So all the curves, all the lines, everything like that. Jessica Rabbit on steroids. I really like that.
Double split, and then I'll pull up the. Well, you want to see if they had a black dial.
Yeah, platinum, right? Platinum, maybe that.
Okay, so this is pink
gold.
Go
down.
Yeah, no, I know. I wanted to see if it was honey gold or not.
Okay.
I like the honey gold.
No, honey gold is limited, so that won't be honey gold. Here, have a look at the movement.
Yeah, it's one of the finest, man. Definitely one of the finest. No, I don't think so. They don't have it anymore.
No, there was one image. If you go up, stop. No, here on the left. Show it. No. Go up. Stop. No, left. Yeah. So that is. I think that is a double split.
Yeah, it is a double split.
Should be a double split. So that is my favorite version of this particular watch. Now, why do I like the double split over the triple split? It's very easy. I'm personally not a fan of that big counter at 12. Here you have a double split, but I don't know what is on the top. Is that a power reserve or? I think that is a more complicated one.
Yeah, I'll go back.
Yeah,
it's a power reserve. Yeah.
To me, the power reserve is tolerable, but I like those two sub dials. Just like my friend Swiss says, the hanging ball sacks. He's calling that
ball sacks. Swiss is good, man. Swiss is good. Yeah. He got the skateboard dial on the Patek 5226, and now
Swiss doesn't mince the words. So, in my opinion, this is more visually pleasing than the triple split, which has the subdials at 12 and 6. And I like the horizontal alignment of those subdials versus the triple split. Maybe you can find a
triple split, or you want to? Yeah, here I got the triples. Yep. Here's a triple split from Lange.
So triple split, of course, is technically more challenging because it splits than the hour counter as well. Not only the second counter and the minute counter, but the triple split has the.
What's going on, Nathan? How you doing?
All right, good.
Hey, Nathan.
Nathan, what do you think of these pieces? Does this look cool? Not cool?
I think it looks kind of decent. 2 colors, not too boring.
I always look at these movements, guys, on the panel. And I'm like, you know, when you look at a Lange like chronograph movement, it looks like a little city, you know, in the back, little skyscrapers. It's like I get some kind of a really different vibe from it as compared to
I
other
like
brands that
the
make.
how you can see the back area. It looks kind of cool looking.
All right, Higgy baby, CB's coming in hot.
Mm.
Only 3 people can service these Langes. Hopefully, they will live long.
I think this is the wrong question. I think Lange is trying hard to educate more watchmakers to be able to service those super high complicated pieces, because that is the future of Lange. I mean, Lange, Wilhelm Schmidt said that he doesn't want to increase the production number, so that means that he's going more and more complicated. So he needs more better and better watchmakers.
I can find a place to service a older Van Baron.
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier there,
Yeah.
Nathan. The Van Baron you're looking to service, or
My advice is find an old watchmaker who has a lot of experience.
yeah, like an independent watchmaker, collector invest. Just look up somebody who's been in the business for a while and take it in there. Usually they'll work on stuff that's just not around anymore, and they'll dig around for parts and stuff. Shouldn't be too
I
difficult.
mean, I just wanted to restore it, not to like change.
Not only
anything.
repair but restore.
Restore.
Yeah, but Nathan,
to
is the
its
watch
original.
working at all, or is it not working?
It's not working.
Yeah, so he may have to repair it, and that may require either he sources parts, or you know, he's gonna have to get something made likely for it, I would say.
Where are you located, Nathan?
Washington, Missouri.
In Washington. Oh, okay.
The only place that I called that is kind of close, but I don't have a car, so I have to go to.
Maybe someone here from the US can help us, our friend, with an advice.
Yeah, if you guys have a if you're around his area and you have an independent watchmaker you trust, why don't you drop it in the chat, and then hopefully Collector Invest can get his Van Baron restored.
I'll show you what it looks like.
Yeah, sure. Pull it up. While we do that, there, Higgy baby, talk to us about the triple split.
So yeah, just like I said, so it's self-explaining. So usually you have a split-second chronograph. That is also a very high complication. Patek sees that as a grande complication, if I'm not wrong, and they does double assemble their split-second chronographs. Now Lange is not enough with a split-second. So you see here that big central counters. You see 2 second hands.
Just gonna put up Nathan.
I took apart the strap. The strap was all torn up in that.
Okay.
It's a nice old watch.
Yeah, it looked cool, man. New strap, a little bit of restoration. I think it looked pretty nice.
So it has fixed bars, so you need a strap to be glued together, so that you can use those.
And I need to bend that piece back to where it goes.
Well, appreciate you sharing it, Nathan. And then hopefully somebody in the chat can help us out. I do want to say hi to Eddie Mav, who's new here. Great watch that, guys. Appreciate that, Eddie. We try to get now. Sometimes when Higgins and I are on the panel, we can nerd out a bit on the high horology, but
it's getting boring. Yes.
Yeah, it can get
because of you. I blame you.
Well, I called it ASMR Viking Watch Talk today because it was gonna. We were gonna go down the rabbit hole. It's the only way you can catfish CB out to chat
and
with
us. And me.
Yeah, catfish you guys, and then have Mike the Mistake, not trolling Mike the Snake, and yeah. Look, on the topic of chronographs, we have.
So let me explain the triple split for a second. So this is basically a chronograph, and usually when you hit the start button, you have a big central second counter from the middle that shows you the seconds that have passed. Now, a split second, you have 2 second hands that are layered above each other, and you can.
Yeah, it's just a comment coming in from those Tooth for Nathan.
I think
time-
I've seen that area, but that's at least 20 miles from me.
Okay. Well, if anybody knows
Yeah.
anybody closer, feel free to drop it in the chat. Go ahead, Higgins.
Or maybe you can just ship it to them. So the split second is then, it means that those 2 second counters are layered above each other, and with when you hit that button at 10, 1 second counter will stop while the other will continue. Now this is a split second chronograph. Now what you see here with the Lange triple split is that you have also on the minute counter, which is the counter at 4, you have 2 separate hands. You have a golden hand and a silver hand. Maybe, Tan, you can rotate with your mouse. Yeah. So here you have the split minute. So it's not only split seconds, you have split minutes. So the same happens when you can stop one of the minute counters while the other one keeps on moving. Now that is the double split, and the triple split is on the hour counter, which is on top at 12, which in my opinion is a little bit dodgy or doesn't look attractive, and that also splits then the display of the
It's funny
elapsed
because you were
hours.
complaining about the power reserve on the double split,
Yeah.
and now you're complaining about the hour counter on the. All right, like if you ever want it, so Eddie Mav, I know you know OC. Higgins and I call OC the original OCD because he's OCD. But I think Higgins is a little bit of he's got a little bit of OC.
No, I just told you why I prefer the triple split over the double split. I mean, if you give me one of them for a reasonable price, I will take them. No problem about that. I just told you why I prefer the double split over the triple split.
Speaking of chronographs and split second chronographs,
Mm.
I was talking about this yesterday. The term grand complication. Okay, so from my understanding of what I would consider a grand complication, it is a watch that has a perpetual calendar, a minute repeater, and a chronograph. That would be considered a grand complication. However, Patek Philippe in their catalog, they define it differently. They say a perpetual calendar only is a grand complication, as well as a split second chronograph, not their standard chronograph, but split second chronograph. So Higgins, what do you think? How would you define grand?
So as far I'm more brutal in my definition of a grand complication, because in my opinion it also has to have a tourbillon.
Tourbillon's not a complication.
I know tourbillon is not a complication. Okay, we are having that discussion again. You said perpetual calendar, split second, and
No. Perpetual calendar,
Yeah.
minute repeater, and
Yeah.
chronograph. Doesn't need to be
Okay,
split.
minute repeater is important.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Jean-Claude Biver added a tourbillon with his grand complication, which he then called 1735. So yeah, in my opinion, must have a tourbillon, but I know tourbillon is not a complication.
Nope, we got someone else trying to hop on here.
But as far as I know,
you know who wants to hop? Do you know the Scottish troll John Smith? You know that guy?
oh yeah, I know that.
Well, what do you think? Do you want to?
Well, then I can go to bed because
No.
I'm not getting a word.
I like you, John, but we got some watch talk to cover. Nah. All right, let's keep going here. Speaking of chronographs, I do have another article here for you guys. If I can find it, we got the Angulus Instrument de Vitesse, instrument of speed, and the story of its mono pusher movement.
Mhm.
So now we're kind of moving a little bit back. We're backing the truck up to more affordable watches here compared to triple splits and double splits. We've got a mono
That actually
chronograph.
looks kind of decent.
Okay, so Nathan likes it. Higgins, why don't you tell us about the Angulus Vitesse instrument of Vitesse?
So for me, visually, that is very, very attractive. It has vintage vibes, but it doesn't look like a grandfather's watch for some reason. I'm a big fan of monopusher chronographs, so you don't have the normal pusher at 2. You have that pusher in the crown that starts, stops, and resets the chronograph. And what I like about that is there is no minute counter, there is no hour counter, there is only a second counter, which gives it very interesting optics.
Well, I think it goes with the theme of the name, right? So, instrument de vitesse, which just means instrument of speed in French. It really is because, like you said, there's no counters on this watch. It's just literally you got the mono pusher, you click the chronograph to start, and you're actually just using,
The
really just
tachometer.
the tachometer to actually just calculate speed. So you're not caring about anything else but that, which is essentially the theme of the watch, right? I think that's actually pretty cool, and I think it's well done. Like,
Yeah.
this is
I also like the highlights in blue and with the little highlights in red. So I think it's an attractive combination that prevents that the design of the watch is getting boring.
Is it red or is it orange? I can't tell.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's red. When I checked, it was red.
It was
but,
red. Okay,
yeah.
okay. No, but I mean, this is nice, right? This is red for sure.
Yeah.
With a black dial. What do you prefer, the black dial or the white dial or the
I
cream
think I
dial?
like the white dial more.
Nathan, what about you?
Oh, white dial.
White dial. Cool.
How about you?
Black dial.
Okay, so what is interesting here is the genesis of the movement, because so Angelus is known for supplying all kind of companies, including Panerai, by the way. They supplied Panerai with
And that is
with movement.
actually cool how they have the back though.
With the open case back. You like that?
Yeah, the open case back. Yeah.
Yeah. So this movement actually started in Pforzheim. Did you know that?
Nope.
So we have a super chat.
Oh, sorry. I was in the other module. Muhammad Ali, 5 British pounds. Thank you so much, Muhammad. Very, very generous today. What watch will impress the ladies more, Patek or Lange? All right, I'm going to open this up to Jonathan first.
Oh, that is it.
I'll say a Time Max would.
I know that you like your Timex Heinz variant. Actually, when you presented that, I had to Google it, and I think it's very cool. So, but Saad said something very interesting. Saad said something very interesting today, and that is probably an indirect reply to the question. So Saad said, when you reach a certain level of success and knowledge about luxury goods, you're trying to get a Patek Philippe. And when you left that level and even elevated higher and try to find something which is even better and more luxurious than Patek, then you find Lange. So if it depends a little bit on what the lady wants. If she's attracted by a big name, it's certainly going to be Patek. If she's the lady who is really out for the super 0.5% who are not attracted to a big brand name, but have elevated their taste in luxury, then it's Lange.
I think Higgins is off his rocker here. I think if you show a lady a Lange, she'll be like, well, what's that? Like, did you like why are you showing me this like Macy's watch, right? Like, but if you say Patek Philippe, I mean that brand is in popular culture right now. Like in not in music, people see it on celebrities. It's becoming a lot more well known, Muhammad Ali, and
Dan, that is a problem because you're only meeting women who think Louis Vuitton is the epitome of luxury baggage.
I disagree. It's in popular culture, right? And it wasn't always so, right? Like, just talking about hip hop culture, right? Like the music was about Rolex. Then, it became AP with Jay-Z. And then, with, other artists like Migos, Patek Philippe started to come out and you started hearing more tracks about that. So it's becoming a lot more prevalent in popular culture. Muhammad Ali, not really something I really, I preferred kind of just how stealth it was. Preferred it to be like a Lange, but I would say Patek Philippe all day long. And yes, CB, this is the ultimate brand.
Yep.
If you want to impress the women, it's the Cartier. That is for sure.
If you gift her one, if you're wearing one, I think you would score better if you wore a Patek. But you just reconfirmed my point. Hip hop, urban culture, Patek is getting more and more popular. But there are people who are trying to find something even finer that is not so much mainstream, and that is a Lange Klein.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that a lot of people shy away from brands just because of that. They, they look for something that's off the beaten path. That's, you want to find that, like, a lot of people want to find the next best thing, and they're willing to. I said this yesterday about independence, Higgins. I said, independence, you have a lot of upside if you get in early and you get the right brand. However, there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them that are going to keep popping up, and that saturation, I think, potentially could hurt. Unless you're investing in like almost everything, like then it's becoming a really dicey game to pick and choose which are the ones. This is assuming people just want to make money, not anything related to actual love for watchmaking. Because you and I, for example, have completely different tastes sometimes. Where I'm a fan of, we talked about this earlier. I'm a fan of Voutilainen's design, and you don't like it so much, right?
Well, I don't like the teardrop lugs. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna show Nathan here of Voutilainen because I don't I met the guy. He's a very cool guy, and he was totally cool with everybody, kind of just checking out his watches. And I mean, he makes handmade watches. Doesn't make a lot of them, so those are the pieces he's made on his own. But he was really cool in New York, and I really do like. I'll share the tab here. Sorry.
I mean, Kari Voutilainen is a cool dog. There's no doubt.
What about this Starry Night? I know you're a fan of the Starry Night at BCHH.
Yeah, super nice dial.
Yeah, I think the dial is really well.
But it's a unique. I think it's a unique piece, isn't it?
It says timepieces. I don't know if that one was unique or not.
Ooh, what is that?
This one?
Go up a little bit. The one next on the one that looks like a big old square.
The pocket watch.
Pocket watch. Yep. Yeah, this is a piece unique.
I think that looks interesting.
Yeah, he transferred that kind of case design to his new GMT watch. That is it world time or yeah, I think it's a world time.
Jin is saying boring.
Yeah.
see, I know Jin would love this kind of stuff, so stop fucking around. The 28, I like the 28 a lot, Mr. Higgins.
Hey Vin, are you talking about the watch talk in general, or are you talking about Langes, or now about Kari Voutilainen?
He's probably talking about. This is a cool watch.
What is your beef?
This is a cool watch. Manufactured from German silver there, Higgy baby. In-house design movement. Main plate and bridges manufactured from German silver.
Which is not silver.
I think that's kind of neat looking watch too.
Yeah, what he doesn't like on this piece, Nathan, is Higgins doesn't like the lugs. He doesn't like. Was it the hands you don't like? What else do you not like about this watch?
No, the lugs are my main beef, and I think this kind of dial design that you find on Schwarz Etienne and all kind of brands has become a little bit too common. So I wish that he would do a little bit more on the dial design.
Honestly, for me, the lugs are that's his signature, right? And I get it. You're not a fan of the lugs, and I get it. But for me, when I think Voutilainen, I think this. I think the lugs
kind of has that vintage and antique look to it too.
Yeah, Nathan, these are actually all handmade watches. There's very, very few of them. I was talking to Higgins earlier about this, saying of the independents that you can buy as retail. I told the story that someone on Rolex forums had a deposit with Roger Smith, and the watch was initially, I think, an MSRP of like $100,000. And then when, a few years later, I think 3 or 4 years later, when he finally got the allocation, the watch ended up being like $300,000 MSRP. So it was like a significant increase in price. And then you think of Reshepis, which are, probably what, 200. I mean, Voutilainen's are in the low hundreds. They're really Richard Mille money. And, a lot. I know there's a lot of Richard Mille fans out there. I know George Varghese and a bunch of others fell in them. But like for me, I'd rather get a handmade Kerry Voutilainen than your run of the mill Richard Mille like RM11 or something.
And
I
another
would
thing
agree
is,
with you.
if you get vintage watches, you can always get a bunch of duplicates, and then you can combine them if they're like repair or parts, and you can shrink the product numbers.
I'll tell you a story about Jin and I at Richard Mille. We were there. Jin was late from work, and he was supposed to meet me at Richard Mille. They were closing. I think it was like 5 minutes left, but we walked in like right at the last moment. Had to flash the Patek Philippe on the wrist, saying, "Yep, I'm a serious buyer. I want to buy a Richard Mille." And so we sit down. They offer us a drink or whatever, and they bring out. I don't remember, Jen, if it was a Nadal or they didn't have many, but they had like a really like expensive one. They brought that out, and the manager left, and then Jin was handling my Patek, and I was handling the RM, and Jin drops the Patek onto like the padded table that they have.
Mm.
Wasn't a big drop, but like it was a thud. And the manager just like runs like back. She thought I dropped the Richard Mille, and I was like, "Look, lady, if I drop the Richard Mille, it ain't gonna make a thud. It's that light, man. Like, what are you talking about?" And then it was just funny. And now Jin is a stand-up guy. The watch hits the table, turns to me, and he says, "I will pay for a service." Like didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. Turns to me, looks me in the eye, and says, "I will pay for a service." And I said, "Look, man." And now I'm sitting there. We're also looking at a $300,000 watch, right? Like at this boutique. So I can't just flinch and be like, "Oh yeah, yeah." Like I get mad about him dropping my $20,000 watch. But yeah, it was really fun. Now the watch didn't need servicing. It was totally fine. And I told Jen, "Don't worry about it. It's all good. Mistakes, accidents happens." Now Higgins, a few months later, he did Spider-Man his Explorer 1 onto the tile of his kitchen, and it did.
Ooh.
Yep, that is the story today of the Jin Tingler.
So can I tell you how weird that is for me at the moment that Jin is in the comments? Because I was starting with Archie as a viewer, not active in the comments at all. And so to me, Jin is more of one of those OGs together with Clive and with Mark Goldberg. I never really liked you, Dan.
Yeah, you're a fucker, man. Like,
So how weird is that for me? I'm here on a panel and Jin is in the comments.
yeah, Jin's actually he's in Melbourne right now. He's
Okay.
I don't know if he's there for work or just chilling, but yeah, he's in Melbourne, and yeah, he's enjoying his time over there, enjoying the Australian time. Guys and boy panel, who would you say makes the better watch, Rebecca Struthers or Roger Smith?
Do you know Rebecca Struthers?
I don't know Rebecca
I
Struthers.
have no idea who that is.
No, so I'm gonna go with Roger Smith there, guys, and just because I like Roger Smith.
I mean, Roger Smith makes very cool watches. So I'll research Rebecca Struthers a little bit later.
Let's pull up a Roger Smith watch here for our good friend Skyson boys. Roger Smith watches, because the name Roger Smith is definitely could be a common name. All right, let's get to the watches. I don't care about the guy. Share the tab. The watches, Series 1. So let's look at Series 1. Why not? Nathan, what do you think of these?
Look. It's kind of okay. It looks kind of like a vintage look to it. A little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I kind of like it.
Check out a couple of the other series. You do see a lot of like similar theme, a lot more traditional design. Not always for everybody. Higgins, are we passing the 50% test for you here or not?
No. I love Roger Smith. Again, it is not my 90% love, but the movement is enough for me to fall in love with it.
Didn't MCM recently get? I don't know. MCM was talking about an allocation at Roger Smith, but MCM does watch the show. So if MCM, if you are listening, let us know if you did get a Roger Smith. I'm not sure. CB says Roger Smiths are boring.
I agree with him, but sometimes good watchmakers have boring dials. And I'd rather have fantastic, amazing, mind-blowing watchmaking and boring dials instead of crazy designed watches with mediocre movements.
I don't know.
So
I find this style a little boring, just on the salmon part of it. I can't love this watch. I don't know. Like OC is looking at this one, and I'm just like, I don't know. Why would you get the salmon? Like it doesn't look good at all to me. I don't know.
That one looks ugly.
Yeah, the central second hand kills that watch entirely.
Really, you would prefer it if it didn't have the central seconds?
Yes.
No, I think the central
I
second.
keep on telling you that.
Classic, baby, class. Well, it's, I mean,
No.
it's classic to the original, right?
It's a distraction. It's a distraction.
That pink looks like a distraction.
Now, Higgins.
If it was a cream color, I would buy it, but
Higgins is not a history buff from the original 1591 that it's based on, which had the central seconds.
It would look so much better without it.
Nah.
That one I like.
Yeah, so this one, Nathan, is the original version that the watch I was showing earlier. This one is based on. CB says salmon is overrated. I think salmon can be okay in certain watches.
I think we have seen too much salmon dials in the last couple of years.
Type of watch.
I think it works in certain watches. I think in others they're just trying too hard, and I think this is an example of trying too hard. And I'll show you another example of trying too hard.
Oh, no, please go back to the vintage one, because I can tell you exactly why the vintage looks so much better than the modern one.
Sure.
It doesn't have those surrounds on the loom plots. It is that simple. And this happens a lot, in my opinion, with Rolex watches. Rolex went luxury with those white gold surrounds around the loom, while that printed loom, it looks so much better.
It's kind of like example of a kind of like a simple design, but also
another Timex.
Yeah, Nathan loves his Timex.
Yeah.
Timexes are kind of good at like certain years.
You've shown us a few that you've liked, like the ketchup watch, which
yeah, I love the ketchup.
That was cool.
Yeah.
There are certain watches. It just depends on the design and looks to it. Can be interesting.
What do you think, Nathan, of this one? This is a salmon dial chronograph.
That one seems okay with kind of like looks like it's been sun bleached too. That I think will match the design of a salmon color.
All right, we got a hot take question here from Fella. Iggy, what's it like carrying the chip on your shoulder? The Lange can't compare with the 5370. I got a 5370p here up on the screen. Double split, or split second, sorry. 50 or 50. Okay, we're just gonna go with the 5370 there, Fella, the newer one. Split second, Patek Philippe, and Rodent is loving the comment. Higgins, what's it feel like to have a chip on the shoulder?
Not really a chip on the shoulder, because those are different watches, and dare I say, I personally prefer the case design of the Patek Philippe. I think that is so nice. It is a reminiscence of the 96 case, but on steroids, and I think that that case is absolutely beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Now, if we're talking about the movement, my friend Fella, I still disagree with you. I think the Lange double split or split second chronograph looks better than this one.
So earlier today, I was on a phone call with Higgins, and he was I really didn't understand this call out. He was getting mad about me showing a very, very rare Patek Philippe that was bespoke, made, and ordered by a.
I mean, that was embarrassing what you did there. That was absolutely embarrassing.
Tell me what's wrong. So for those that don't know, hold on. For those that don't know, Jonathan Quill Higgins III used to work for an authorized dealer of Patek Philippe when this watch was actually in production. So tell me where I went wrong, simping over this watch there, Higgy baby.
So, first of all, I really like the 3940 in general. To me, it was always the best perpetual calendar when I was active, because we didn't have those cool brands that we have today. I'm not talking about Lange and all the others. So I have a soft spot for the 3940, but 36 millimeters, we all know that discussion is a little bit problematic or not, depends on how you like it. Now, my main beef why you were doing that narrative yesterday, how cool Patek Philippe is to do a special piece for a VIP client. So basically they took the tools, or probably they had a case laying around. They made the dial with the Breguet numerals in salmon, and they printed his signature on it. And you were praising that over the top for Patek being such a good company to their clients, doing bespoke stuff that is just outlandish and so cool and so fine and so special. And in my opinion, it just shows how out of touch Patek Philippe is with their normal clients. And I'm quoting Russ, who was interested in a minute repeater perpetual calendar tourbillon, and he wanted to move the Geneva logo, or he wanted to delete it, and Patek said no, take it or leave it. That just shows how out of touch Patek is with their
I think
clients.
that's a little different though. Like Higgins is getting your name or your initial, whatever this was, OVS or something like that. I can't really see it, but that's, I think, a little different than, because that's their brand, right? Patek Philippe and Genève, obviously where they're from, is their brand. So I think if you're removing Genève, I think, yeah, I could see them saying no to that. If you're just moving the position of it,
I
I would
think he
agree with
wanted
you.
to move
Yeah,
it, yeah.
yeah. If it's just moving the position, which is strange, right? Because in the 5146 from the previous gen 5035, the annual calendars, Patek Philippe Genève is at the top on the 5035. It's at the bottom on the 5146. Everybody hates it on the bottom. So I find that interesting that they would turn that request down on such a
So
expensive.
can I tell you how nice that watch looks without a central second hand? So then it's just one remark that I have. Now, but going back to the topic. Okay, so big fucking deal. After 10 years of discontinuing then the watch, they make another one for a loaded super VIP client with a salmon dial. Big fucking deal, and they do his initials almost unreadable. And that is the highest grade of customization that you can get. Now Higgins shows you his BCHH Celestial Voyager, and that is what we're talking about when we're talking about customization, about being customer focused, being really special, and being very close to your clients. I think that is no comparison, and just shows how out of touch Patek Philippe is.
All right, so we have here the actual watch of Jonathan Quill Higgins III. This is an article.
And now comes the Bombay.
No, no. I'm not gonna beat you up on this. I'm not gonna beat you up on this. So this article was from last year by Frank Gielen, who did an article on our panelist Jonathan Quill Higgins III here, monochrome watches. Check it out if you guys want to read it. I'm gonna just show photos of the watch here. Tell us the customization that you felt was more from your brand, a brand like BCHH, than you would get from a Patek Philippe.
I just said it today. Maybe you can zoom in a little bit to the dial, or take another shot of the dial. So this dial is totally customized. I said it before. The briefing was, can you make me a dial where my 3 favorite places on this globe are on the map? And the 3 important points that I have, that is my watch. So for me, one is Hamburg, where I spent most of the time in my life. The second one is Hong Kong, which is my second home. And the third one is of the most beautiful place on this earth, which is the beautiful island of Bora Bora. And you can see that around 6 o'clock. So here, that is another golden dot. So That was one of the briefings. I want a cutout of the world with those 3 points on. Now, when they were doing that dial, they had to do it again because the first attempt cracked when it was printed at the dial company. So they had to start all over again. And I called the owner of Anders and Genève one day, and I told him, look, I've seen a report about a beautiful lake in Russia, which is called Lake Baikal. Is it possible that you implement that beautiful lake in the landmass of Russia? Because I feel that the landmark of Russia is a little bit too big and a little bit too boring. So it would be nice to have that little lake in a cloison. And a couple of hours later, he called me back and he told me, yeah, Lake Baikal is on that dial, and maybe you can show it. 10. No, that long. No. Go up. No, there is a cloison in the middle of the Russian landmass. Yes, that's the lake. So that is customization. I call, is it possible? They say, yeah, we're at the moment producing it, so we're doing that for you. Isn't that fantastic? I mean, I'm not a big shot. I was a first-time buyer, and they're doing this kind of customization for me. But not only that, if you see the darker highlights, for example, where the Himalaya is, that is darker. One of my requirement was that I wanted the deep parts of the ocean really dark and the coastlines a little bit brighter. They did that. So there's a lot of customization going on, a lot of individual requests that I had, and they were following through.
And so
I'm totally happy.
Sorry, I was on mute earlier.
Okay.
I was asking, do they do this for? Because obviously there's different themes of dials you can have. Yours is obviously a world map, but they do other ones like the sunset over Cappadocia and other ones, right? Like, and I do actually have some of those photos here real quick for us to show, because I think that they're pitching a new sunset over Cappadocia. I want to pull it up here on the screen. I'm going to share from my WhatsApp, so it should be pretty good.
Yeah, they have a new variant. I think they moved the central balloon a little bit from the center up to one of the corners.
I don't know if I like this one better than the previous, to be honest with you. Like, I thought the previous one was a little bit more blue. Like, it was a little bit, I don't know.
I think they have two different color schemes. So here you have the pinkish one, and I think there is a more blue one. What I find super cool is the two-tone case. I'm totally in love with that. So that is rose gold and platinum.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me another company that combines platinum with rose gold on a case.
Yeah, I mean that definitely. AP maybe. AP must have done it on the Royal Oak. Don't you
Rose
think?
gold and platinum.
I don't know. Let me look that up. AP. Hold on.
Could be.
Yeah, let me share yours because I had another problem with my WhatsApp stuff. So I'll just go back to your article here. So obviously, cloisonné dial. You have enamel on the dial, as well as the city ring is also, I believe, aventurine.
Aventurine, yes. The true stone. It's not aventurine glass. That is the.
So like Africa, Europe, and Asia, and
yeah, Nathan. He particularly removed North America from there.
No,
I mean, it's not that visible. Basically,
I was focusing on other things.
The world. Yeah, it's not the center of the world. Basically, so an exact reason on why this wouldn't be my choice. But look, beautiful. And I guess like back to the discussion around like the Patek Philippe customization. I mean, it's not the first time they've done it. I showed another one yesterday. This Calatrava with a hieroglyphic style. I showed this to Danny. Obviously, a bunch of the guys were not. This wasn't really their cup of tea, I would say. But for me, I thought it was cool. It's got a cool story behind it. I think Nathan saw this with me yesterday. I mean, it just has hieroglyphics on it. The hieroglyphics is, I believe, spelling out the individual's name. It was bought by a big collector, and he also gifted one to a photographer friend of his, which went up for auction. But when I saw this at auction, I was like, whoa. This is unusual. Like, why would Patek Philippe do a watch with like a 3,000 or 2,000-year-old dead language on it, right? Like it didn't really make sense. And it's like who the heck can actually read this? But it was it was a special
Can you
commission.
I think it
imagine
looks
them
cool,
putting
kind of
like
cool,
Sumerian
unusual.
on there?
Well, look, Nathan, if you're rich enough, right? You can. It seems like my biggest thing, and I don't really understand why Higgins is fighting me on this. Work with me, not against me, big boy. Is the whole idea around being able to tell the brand, hey, look, that watch doesn't exist anymore. You guys don't make it, but I want you to make it for me. And it's been discontinued for 10 years. So I'm going to ask you, Higgins. I asked this to Nathan yesterday, and he said at Timex, if you could get any watch, and we were, I think, particularly talking Rolex. Maybe we'll go to Rolex, make it specific. If you could remake any Rolex, you had all the cash in the world, you went to Rolex and said, I want this, what would it be?
Well, you know me well enough to know what I'm going to reply.
Maybe you're going to surprise me here. I'm going to guess it's a 6538. Okay, 6542. Yes. Fuck yeah. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you should
Yeah.
know it. When I was buying my first Rolex, I had the choice of a Submariner and a GMT Master.
Yeah, but
And
okay, but you're
my
going to ask him
choice,
to.
I was always a
I would
GMT
like
Master
the
guy.
1930s to be remade.
You know what? I would say, okay, if you're gonna order a I'm gonna pull up a 6542 for you to see here, Nathan. So you know what we're talking about. This is affectionately known as the Pussy Galore, the Pussy Galore Rolex. It is the original GMT Master, not a GMT Master 2, GMT Master Bakelite bezel. Now, this is my question to you, Higgins. If you're gonna ask Rolex to remake this watch, are you gonna request a radium dial and radium on the Bakelite bezel?
That's a good question because I'm in the last third of my life. So would I give a fuck, or would I ask them to use a proper a newer loom? I really like my life, and I hope that I'm living long. So I would probably ask them to have a fake patina'd but modern loom in the Bakelite. Yes.
So the Gin Tingler says, what was he saying here? Because I missed it as the 2.5. Yeah, so he says I also love the 2.526 Patek Philippe. I obviously would have said if it were me, in the place of Michael Ovitz, I would have asked for like a 1518 or a 2499, something like that. Or actually, you know what? 2523, yeah, or a World Time. But this is I think if you ask Rolex for a 6542, they wouldn't give you the radium. And then for me, is it, and again, that would be the same for the 6538, but the radium had a lot more to this story in this watch than it did in the sub, because I was saying this on the other stream, the Bakelite bezel was actually recalled in the United States because of radium being in the bezel, and that's why there's not a lot of them around.
No, the reason why they recalled it was that the bezel was losing radium. It was not because it's inside, because it has gone outside.
Here's the watch.
Meaning it's getting out of the dial.
No, out of the bezel.
Out of the bezel. Okay. Sorry, Nathan. Go ahead.
Here's the watch that I want Rolex to remake.
Show us.
You put it in the
private chat? Okay, here we go. Let me
Tan, I have a request here because Angelic was banning me with both of my viewer accounts on his channel. Can we ban Angelic just out of spite?
Spite him, man. Spite chat. Why not? Spite ban.
So can I kick him?
Do whatever you want, man.
No, I'm not doing that. Angelic, I love you. But please let me come back.
Higgins, come back. All right, so this is our friend Nathan's choice of Rolex if he wanted them to remake one similar to Rolex Prince, I would assume. This is a Marconi. Yeah, hey,
Very nice.
Yeah,
I mean that is where Frank Müller had his inspiration for the Casablanca.
All right, so Jen is saying I need to be literal royalty to request a Patek Philippe 1518 legendary first edition of the Perpetual Calendar chronograph. I'm going to pull one up here for you guys. Obviously vintage, the first edition of the Perpetual Calendar chronograph, but for me, it's like, if you're going to ask for anything, if you could just remake a watch, it's going to be like, I mean, I like the 3940, but that wouldn't be my first choice. But maybe that was their limit, and they were like, "Look, man, you can't get a 2499 or a 1518 or a 2523. You're gonna have to stick with the 3940."
Do you think they were really redoing that case, or that they had a spare part somewhere?
No, they may have. Yeah, they may have actually had spare parts. I would assume.
So basically, they just custom made the dial.
Well, look, they didn't just make one; they made two for him, right? So, I mean, maybe they would have retooled it, I guess, because he's making more than one. But I don't know. Maybe it could have just been spare cases and spare parts.
I don't know how the process is. Maybe they're just redoing old cases from time to time when they're running out of spare parts. I don't know how the process is.
Well, I'm assuming they're still getting service requests, right? Like if
Yeah.
people, if you need a new case, for example, of your
Yeah.
watch, right? Like they're likely still getting service requests. And Patek Philippe is one of the brands out there that services every watch they've ever made. And it's not going to be cheap if you have a watch that, is out of production, is 100 years old and they don't have parts for it. They're going to have to make the parts for you, but they will make the parts for you, but, at the right price, I guess, right? At the right price. So Patek Philippe for you, Higgins, if you were to ask them to make one, it's the world timer, I would assume.
Yes, 2523, no doubt about that. Blue enamel dial, not
right,
cloisonné.
Let me pull this up for Nathan here because we don't always get to look at the blue enamel dial. We often look at the cloisonné dial.
And I'm always laughing when I see when I see you posting pictures of your world timer, because I remember those first conversations that we had about world time watches, and you said, "Nah, it's not for me. I'm a kind of precision fetishist, and I couldn't list that."
Precision fetishist. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
well, I think that were your words, weren't they? So,
Nah.
kind of.
I think you're paraphrasing me here, but
Okay.
But the reality is that when I put on the world time beside, right at, like, let's say I put on the perpetual calendar after I pop the world time on, the lugs actually,
That
with their
looks interesting too.
yeah, this is the watch that Higgins said he would recreate. But the lugs really change the circular shape. It makes it look a little, to the eye, I think, doesn't look as circular. When I put on the perpetual calendar, it's very, integrated lugs. It's not as nice. So you're absolutely right on that one, Higgins.
And that is another sign of high horology or art that has gone missing in most of modern watches. Separate welded lugs. I mean, everybody is doing now those step lugs, those integrated lugs, because those cases are cheaper to make, but those applied lugs are so cool and so beautiful. And in my opinion, that is another thing to rave about, and another sign that some things are really special.
We got Mike the Mistake, $2 Canadian, who says the Patek 570 is in a modern size, simple, beautiful 300. Interestingly enough, this watch was called a jumbo back in the day. The 570, I believe, was 35 millimeters when the originals were like 33 or something. So yeah, consider the jumbo back in the day. But he wants it in a modern size, so I would assume he's going to want. I mean, Higgins, if I were to make this watch for Patek Philippe now, I'd probably go like 38 and a half. I think that would be kind of the max. I think if you make this a 39 or a 40, it's just going to be a lot of space on the dial. I think it is just not going to look as nice.
I may be the party pooper again, but I think as a 200 would look better than as a 300.
Cool. I think we're rounding up to an hour and a half here, guys. I'm getting a little tired on my side.
Yeah,
I
me
know
too.
it's late for our good friend Higgins, and Nathan. Archie's going to be on probably in about an hour. So
I may end up buying that Rolex vintage one.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I would say go for it. But yeah, look, guys, we're going to let you guys go.
But keep in mind, spare parts for those old Rolexes are difficult. So make sure to get the movement check before you buy that, because you may end up with a movement that can't be repaired because there are some spare parts missing.
100%, guys. I do want to thank everybody
I
on
like
the
the design though.
Yeah, I think it's cool, man. I think it's cool. But I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Want to thank everybody on the panel. Want to thank everybody in the chat. Archie will be here in an hour. It's getting late for obviously everybody on the panel, so I will let you guys go. I'll run a clip here, and I'll see you guys in about an hour.
Hello, this is Archie Luxury. Archie Luxury on the Archie Luxury channel.
Come to Thailand with us and buy some of these pre-ops.
This is the second interview.
To push that shit
Joined with my beautiful host,
right in.
John Sarko Hornet.
Right in, baby.
Hello, John. How are you?
Buy some of these pre-ops. Push it right in, sunshine. Push it. Flip 'em over. Push that shit right in, baby. Push it.
I'm just feeling really depressed at the moment, John.
Spot the Adam's apple.
Don't have another drink.
Push it. To push that shit. Push it right in, sunshine. Push it. Slide it in there. Push it in the back door there, you know. Push it. Flip 'em over.
Maybe I was wrong to be friends with this guy in the first place.
Everything has a price in Thailand.
Push it. Flip 'em over.
Have a drink.
Push it.
I'm early, tucked the wrong lane. Stuck it in the header.
Push it. Tuck it in. Flip 'em over. Push it.
Where are we up to now?
We're up to nowhere, Jono.
Push it. In the back door there, you know. Push it.
Get in the header.
Slide it in there. Push it.
Trying to buy your wife. If you were a Sheila,
Push
you
it.
got the rags on.
Flip 'em over.
Push it.
Header. Header.
Push it.
Don't have another drink.
Push it. Right in, sunshine. Push it.
The bitches don't put out.
It'd be your time of month. You got the rags on it.
I can't fucking understand this shit. You just talk to me in riddles.